Saturday morning. I am your guy Boulanger. This is the GM. And as always, we are talking ball. So listen, this is kind of an improv. It was not previously scheduled, but I decided to get in here early because I was challenged by my neighbor. I was challenged by my neighbor because I can hear his lawnmower running. And that means I need to get mine running as well. I need to jump on the tractor so I can get some things done. It has been raining down here in the South. If you are from North Carolina, if you are from South Carolina, Georgia, Florida area, you guys know it has been raining off and on with some consistency. And I just have not been able to get out and maintain my yard. And it's supposed to rain today, but the sun's out right now and the yard is calling my name. So I have to get to it. So I wanted to get in here, man, and get this thing done. So today, man, we are talking about starters emerging and who could be looking for work. So once again, good morning. Let's get right to it. So here's the deal, man. After the Baltimore Ravens' first preseason game, right? We learned some things about this team. We learned some things about the depth, and we learned some things about areas that may need to improve. All right. And there's about 5 areas that need our attention. And so we'll get to the needing work part here in a second. As I'm looking at this Baltimore Ravens team, as I am assessing it, I can see the talent at the top, right? We know all of the big names: Jackson, Henry, Andrews, Likely, Flowers, Hopkins, Hamilton, Humphrey, Alexander, Metabike, so on and so forth. We know the big names. And we have some young guys who are emerging. We have some young guys who are making their case to be noted as well. And because of the emergence of the young guys, right? Some of the older guys, and that doesn't mean they're old in age, just old as in veterans on this team. Some of them could be looking for work. Some of that is just because some of that is just because it's time for new talent, and some of that's just because poor play. So let's get into a few things, man. As I'm thinking about the Baltimore Ravens, the hope is that we don't need a backup quarterback. I talked about this yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it today. The first position I think that needs some attention on this Baltimore Ravens team is that backup quarterback position. We don't really have a quality backup, and we haven't had one probably since Tyler Huntley. And I know some of you don't like Huntley, but for what he could bring to the table, for what he could do, um, he served well in his role, right? We picked up Johnson for a couple of seasons. And, you know, the good thing is we didn't have to really rely on Johnson to come through in any kind of big moment. And then we let Huntley and Johnson walk, and we signed Cooper Rush to a 2-year deal. Now, I've heard many folks talk about Cooper Rush and say that he's not going anywhere, regardless of his poor play, because of the $6 million contract that he received. And if they moved on from him, it would cost them $4 million in a dead cap hit. Here's the deal: we've definitely seen teams cut players with major contracts. We saw the Denver Broncos move on from Russell Wilson. We saw just recently, who was that? What big name got cut? Was it out? Yeah, out in Oakland, not Oakland. I'm sorry, Vegas. Uh, Wilkerson, he got released, right? So we've seen big contracts get cut. So I don't think a $4 million dead cap hit is going to be any major deterrent from the Baltimore Ravens upgrading that backup position. Now, here's the truth: there is not many names of notoriety out there. Okay. There may be some better names after cut downs began, right? There may be something that's more quality, but that may be too late in the game to estimate how quickly a quarterback can get up to speed, right? So what I did was I went um, to the NFL Indeed, right? I went to the listings of available free agents, right? And for those of you who are not over 25, there was a day where we looked for employment from the newspaper. Some of you may attest to this, right? So if you watch this video and you can remember those days where you looked at the paper for your job, drop that into the comment section. But nevertheless, uh, you had to go and read and find. There wasn't no Google search. It wasn't no AI anything. You had to read and go apply in person and see if you could nab some employment. And so the NFL is very similar to that, right? Every week you're putting on a performance to see if you can stay employed. And as it pertains to our quarterback position, Cooper Rush has not earned the right to stay employed. Whatever he was doing in Dallas, he has not been able to pull that together and replicate that in Baltimore. He just hadn't. And you guys have heard me talk about the practice reports. You guys have heard me talk about his turnovers and things of that nature. And again, he gets right into the game. His first pass is a turnover. I don't really care how it happened. I don't care if it was pass interference. I don't care if it was on Dayton Wade, or I don't care if it was just an inaccurate throw. When you've been throwing interceptions and turning the ball over in practice, it's not just happenstance that it happens in the game, right? He's just been bad. And I believe that $6 million contract and the $4 million dead cap hit won't be an issue if they find the potential upgrade. So when I went to look at the NFL Indeed, you can apply for jobs there, but you can also check out resumes. And so the best available quarterback right now is Carson Wentz. And whatever you think about Carson Wentz, he is a proven winner in this league. He hasn't done so much lately because he hasn't been a starter, but he's the best available. I do not see Tyler Huntley on this list. I think he's available, but I don't see him on this list. And whoever really knows if this list is accurate, because so many things happen in an NFL day that you don't really know. But two names of notoriety that I think that the Baltimore Ravens should be keeping an eye on is Carson Wentz and then Mike White. And Mike White came into fame from the New York Jets when he jumped on the scene when Zach Wilson wasn't doing so great and he balled out. Miami Dolphins picked him up in free agency. I think either one of these guys could get nabbed for $1 million because we're getting ready to go into the second week of preseason. These guys can expect some kind of huge deal. And we have some cap space, and we're only giving out 1-year deals at this point. And so I think either one of these guys could be suitable. I think they could be a better option than Cooper Rush, especially if he continues to wet the bed in practice and in games. And don't get me started on Devin O'Leary. All right. So I think that Cooper Rush could be looking for work. Right. I really believe that. I just don't think we can rely on him to do much other than hand the ball off, because that's really all they got done in this past preseason game. So we'll see. I understand that preseason 1 was a warm up, but we'll see what they look like and what they do in the next game. Sticking with the offense, right? When we are thinking about what we need in Baltimore, the truth is, and I've been saying this for a couple of months, and I kind of just left it alone, wanted to see, how things shook out. I have been an advocate for Daniel Falele. I have been saying, he probably will get it together. I said that, he will come into camp slimmer and more in shape because he's in a contract year. I do believe that somebody will pay him. I do believe that somebody will overpay him. Especially having 19 games as a starter under his belt. I do believe he starts this season. Excuse me. I do believe he'll start this season as of right now as the starter, but I don't think he can have too many more performances like he did in the preseason game. I don't. A 6'8", 350 pound plus guy should not be getting knocked on his butt, no matter who the defender is. I know defenders are extremely strong, but that's a man knocking another man down against his will. And Daniel Falele just didn't get embarrassed by that particular play. He had some bad film out there, some bad tape out there throughout that whole game. And for me, I understand he can't move as well as others. He can't pull as well as others just because of his sheer size. I don't think it's a lack of athleticism. I think it's just he's so big, it's going to be hard for him to get all of that body going in the right direction. And his size doesn't negate the fact that he's just been in the wrong position, wrong angles, and at times he's just been getting overpowered. And that first play where he gets knocked on his behind, or one of the other plays, he gives up the sack. And we just can't have that. This is a year that we're trying to win the Super Bowl, right? And this is where I say he'll be on the roster, but I can't guarantee he'll be a starter at this point. I can't guarantee that because the grades came out from the preseason game. Andrew Voorhees graded out at left guard at an elite level, and Ben Cleveland graded out at a really good level as well. So they both outperformed Daniel Falele. We understand that Voorhees is going to be the starter at left guard unless something unforeseen happens. But I think it's time for John Harbaugh. Now, this is no knock to him as a man. This is just him as a coach. I think it's time for him to get his head out of his behind and really see what he has in Ben Cleveland. You got him on a cheap deal. He's been performing better and better through practice. He performed solidly in the preseason game. And I think it's time for him to just open his eyes and quit being a diva and give this man an opportunity if he is earning it. Now, everybody can see that he's earning it. And so it's just time now. If he continues to outperform Daniel Falele, I think Daniel Falele should move to the backup role. Now, here's where the work part comes in, looking for work. This is a situation where we are going to be should be once again looking for resumes out there on the NFL Indeed. We're looking for resumes at quarterback. I think we also need at least one more piece at the interior offensive line. I know Garrett Dillinger is out there somewhere, but I don't think he's ready. He could definitely slot in on the practice squad if they like what they're seeing in practice. I know that Docourt is there, but I'm not sure if he's done enough to eliminate looking for talent. Now, there's not a lot of talent out there. At least right now, there is not a lot of talent, right? So guys who are available is Brandon Sheriff. And, we know Brandon Sheriff from being one of the top end guards in this league. He's not that anymore, but I think that he could be more than serviceable as a backup piece. Besides him, there is a Shaq Mason. I'm not high on Shaq Mason just based on his time in Houston. I know it was plagued with injury, but I mean, he's a vet, and we do need some depth there. There's a Nick Harris. I think he's formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a solid player. And other than that, I don't know who else is available. It only gives me, the list I'm looking at only gives me 3 of the more notable names. I know that guys who play left tackle, let's see if that's on this list. If this guy is still available, I'm not opposed to going to get a Jedrick Willis. I'm not opposed to going to get him. A guy who was a high-end wage earner, just did not pan out in his former role, but he played tackle. But I think our tackle position, is kind of solidified for the most part with Noteboom and Vincent behind Stanley and Rosengarten. But I think adding a guy who may have some switchability, who can play inside and outside, meaning guard and tackle, I think that may be beneficial. But I think the Baltimore Ravens absolutely need to be looking at resumes. And I know that they're looking at resumes because an article that I read just this morning, or at least partial of it, that they brought in 4 guys for workouts. And so I don't know if that's just camp bodies or if that's guys who really have a potential to get on the roster. But I know at quarterback depth and interior offensive line depth, we do have some questions. And of the guys that I did mention, Jedrick is probably the candidate I would go for because he does have tackle experience, and I believe he has a skill set that could slot him in at the guard position, kind of like I can't even remember his name. Kind of like the offensive tackle who played for the Jets, could never really get it together and went to the Philadelphia Eagles and made the Pro Bowl. You guys know who I'm talking about. I campaigned for him to be in Baltimore last year, but I can't remember his name at this point. But I think Wells could or Willis could have that potential. If we keep moving, I know that Rashawn Ali threw his name in the race to make the team, whether it's in special teams context or whether it's that 4th running back position. Either way, I think that he made enough noise to be on the team. I know he did get banged up, and so we'll have to wait for some updates to see about his availability. I think that could have impacted his roster spot, so he could be looking for work. But I think he put on enough of a performance to earn some consideration. Now, as it pertains to looking for work, I did see an article that I was really confused by. Maybe the guy had been taking some substances when he wrote this article, but it was about a Baltimore Ravens star. It was an article that came out yesterday. I think it was on Sports Illustrated, I believe. But it was an article that spoke to Baltimore Ravens standout or Baltimore Ravens star from the preseason game could be in trade consideration. And it was Keaton Mitchell. And when I got to the name Keaton Mitchell, I stopped reading. I literally stopped reading because, like, a headline is led to bring you into an article, right? But once I started reading to find out who the player was, I stopped reading because it said that, trade talks with the Chargers. Now, that can't be real. That has to just be him, generating an idea to talk about, for content purposes. That can't be a real conversation. That can't be a real rumor. It can't be. That would make no sense. Because why would you trade him to an AFC foe, specifically a foe led by John Harbaugh's brother? That would seem like an inside job, wouldn't it? So I just think that's a fabrication. So I don't think Keaton Mitchell is going anywhere. If any of the running backs go anywhere, it would be Rashawn Ali. But again, I think he has a great chance to make this team. Do we need a 3rd tight end until Isaiah Likely comes back? I don't think so. I'm not like most. I don't think Isaiah Likely is back before game 1. I just don't believe that. In fact, I think he misses the first 2 or 3 games, in fact, until he gets 100% or as close to it. But I don't think we need a 3rd tight end. I don't even think we need to look for resumes. Now, if we did, Hayden Hurst is out there, a guy we know well. We drafted him in the 1st round in 2018. He's serviceable, but I don't think we need to look that way, especially with Patrick Ricard, who can masquerade at a different position at times. He can masquerade as a tight end, the number 1 wideout, and the fullback. So I just think that we don't even need to look in that direction. And so looking for work, still with that theme. I think at the wide receiver position, there will be some guys looking for work. And I think after LaJohntay Wester's performance, I think that guy will be Tylan Wallace. I know they brought him back on a $2 million+ deal. I do not know how much of that was guaranteed. Maybe all of it, maybe a portion of it, but I do not think that's a deterrent. Because when you look at it, right, if we just go with the top guys, Zay, Locke, Bate, Hopkins, Walker, I think they're all locks. Now we're down to just 2, but I don't think they keep but 6, so we're down to 2 positions, right? I think with LaJohntay Wester's performance, I think he locks himself in at the fifth wide receiver just based on his punt return ability and the potential to get in on some business offensively. All right. That means Talon Wallace is the sixth wide receiver. Well, will Dayton Wade continue to make some noise? That's going to be the question. Because I think Dayton Wade is the candidate who has the potential to get onto the roster and challenge Talon Wallace. They may go with the vet, but I think it's a real potential, right? Now, I may be missing a wide receiver, but I think those are the top five. I think the sixth spot is up for grabs for sure. Because I don't think Dayton Wade will continue to be available if he gets cut from the Baltimore Ravens. So you have to consider longevity. I think that's all offensively. I think that's it. When we look at the defensive side of the ball, right? I think that Aeneas Peoples could be looking for work. I think that when we look at the vets, I think most of them are locks. I think they're locks. All five of them are locks. Washington, Jones, Metabike, Urban, and Jenkins. I think they're all locks. So will they keep a sixth guy in the interior in Peoples? I don't know. Because how would that impact the rest of the roster? We'll do a roster breakdown after game 2 when we have even some more clarity. Now, I think injuries could be an impact, and if Peoples make the roster, but I think right now, the Baltimore Ravens are going to be trying to slide him onto the practice squad, which I don't think he'll live there long. I think if they cut Peoples, he's gone. And maybe that's something they have to risk. Again, he was a 6th-round pick, but he did show some stuff in this past preseason game. But I think he could be looking for work because what he's done resume-wise, it's pretty solid. He's done enough for people to be looking, right? At the edge rush position, I think that there's nobody else getting onto the roster. I think these guys are going to be on the roster once again. Van Noy, of course, Odafe, Mike Green, Tavius Robinson, Adisa Isaac, and I think Ajabo. I think if Ajabo comes out and has another performance very similar to what he put on, I think it'll be enough to keep the Baltimore Ravens coaches salivating, waiting on him to put it all together in the regular season. So I think those 6 guys will be on the roster. And so that's why I think Peoples could be out looking for work. When we think about the interior linebacker position, I think it's going to be twofold here. I think his name is Holcomb. I may have his name incorrect, but I think the guy they brought in was Holcomb. I don't think he makes this team. I think it's going to be Roquan, Simpson. I think those right now will be the starters. I think Higgins makes this roster, and I think Teddy Buchanan makes this roster. I don't think they keep more than 4. And if they do, I think they may look to bring in a veteran talent, excuse me, who may be a little better than Holcomb. And so when I look at the linebacker position, when I'm going back to the NFL free agency, the NFL Indeed, man, not really a lot of anything out there that I'm impressed with. I guess Kaiser White would be kind of the best guy available. Maybe. Oh, sorry for hitting the mic. And maybe Eric Kendricks, maybe. Not impressed by either one of those guys. But if we do need a vet, I think those 2 guys could be options if we do need a vet. Again, I think it's Simpson's the starter, and I think the other 2 young guys makes this roster. So I think they only roll with 4. That means Holcomb is out. When we get to the secondary, okay, we start at the cornerback position. We lose Bilal Coney for the entire season. And so I think that secured Jalen Alma Davis's job. So I think the guys who are absolutely on this roster at the cornerback position, again, we'll go deep. We'll break down the numbers at each position. But I think it's, of course, Humphrey, Wiggins, Alexander. I think those are your starters. I think that Awuzie, Armour Davis, and I think they look for a sixth wide receiver. They brought in Whitehead for a workout. I think it was yesterday. So I know that they're looking at the NFL Indeed for sure. Whitehead is a guy who had 79 tackles last season, 2 of them for loss, some pass breakups, no interceptions. He is a vet. He's solid. And so could they bring him onto this team and make him that sixth cornerback over Longerbeam? Possibly. I think they keep a close latch onto Whitehead, but I think they're going to really give Longerbeam an opportunity to get some reps this week and in the next preseason game to kind of see what he can do. Because if we don't keep a sixth cornerback, I think we go with 5 safeties. So we end up with 10 in the secondary. I think that the Baltimore Ravens may want to go with or may benefit from a more veteran safety. Because when you think about it, when you get past Kyle Hamilton, who is still young, in fact, when you get past Hamilton, Starks is a rookie. Braid and Sanusi Kane, they're both second-year players. So there is no real veteran depth back there beyond Kyle Hamilton. So I think they may want to add somebody. I don't know if Justin Simmons, he's listed as available. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. Julian Blackman is still listed as available. If we're going to add a veteran safety, either one of those will be suffice for me. So you guys let me know what you guys think. But when it comes to looking for work, man, I think those are the position groups that could be looking for work. Backup quarterback, interior offensive line. I think that the 6 wide receiver spot, meaning could Tylan Wallace be out looking for a job? I think that interior linebacker, will they need to add a vet? And the safety room. Because right now I know, I've read an article said the cornerback room was thin. I don't believe it's thin, but it's a little bit sketch only because we have some guys in that room still doing coffee this morning. We have some guys in that room who have injury concerns. And so maybe we add another piece or two. It's going to be super, super interesting to see what the practice squad looks like this year, because I think that some of the rookies we're going to try to stash there, especially those 6th-round picks, and so it's going to be interesting to see. But that's what I had for you this morning, man. Just wanted to talk about the roster, kind of a little bit, kind of my last thoughts on the preseason game and what we learned, and looking forward to seeing what happens this upcoming week, who we add, who competes, who shows out, who stands out, and what happens in the second week of preseason. So, man, let me do some housekeeping before we get out of here. Again, the first segment or the first installment of Jackson's Corner will be coming up on Tuesday. Excited about that series or that segment. I got some special segments coming up throughout the season, specifically on Saturday mornings. Just kind of like we do right now. It won't just be me, a talking head. It'll be us talking together. Still working on the logistics of that. Got that coming up, man. So just excited about the season. So do me a favor, man. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. And again, I'm preparing to get this name changed. Not because I have to, just because I want to. So listen, man, I appreciate you guys. Much love to you guys. Let me go get on this grass. I appreciate you guys. I'm your guy Boulanger.